and guns and ships, and so the balance shifts. I'm so happy that I got my kid addicted to musical theater. My life's goal is complete. Yes! So hi, welcome back to my channel. It's funny, I'm finally getting around to doing the thing that I meant to do on this channel, which was talk about Broadway. I do other things too, but now that we've come out of COVID enough, my daughter and I have decided to go Broadway bananas. So we're going to see a lot of shows in the next year. We've already seen 4, so we're going to keep going. So as long as I'm doing that, I'm going to do this by her request and a couple other people. So I finally saw Hamilton. I can't believe it. Something that I never thought would happen, because I'm like, no, that show is too popular. It's too big. I mean, I have money, but I don't have money to see it. But I got to see it. All right, so it just happened to be coming near us in time for my daughter's birthday. We didn't go on her birthday. I had to go with the day that had tickets that were in my price range. So, but it's her birthday month, so close enough. So I was very excited because there's a debate. I'm not really going to talk about the show itself, because if you know what Hamilton is, I'm not going to tell you anything new and exciting. And if you don't, well, and you clicked on my video first, I'm flattered. But so we're not going to talk about the show. This is not a traditional review. This is just more, I want to have a discussion about the debate between, there just happens to be a pro shot available. Now, if you don't know what pro shot means, it's a professional recording of the stage version of a show. These do exist. I don't know what the stipulation is for a Broadway show. I don't know if it has to be on stage X amount of time. But technically all shows are recorded and they're kept in like the Library of Congress or something, and you have to have a very special reason to go in there, and you can watch it like one time. And I mean, it's the Disney Vault has nothing on this shit. So pro shots exist, but very few have been, relegated to the public. But Disney famously bought the rights to the pro shot of Hamilton. I think the original plan was to make it into a movie. They wanted to make sure they were the ones who got to make the movie first. I think. I meant to research this, but I'm just so excited to talk about it. Then COVID hit, and they have a streaming platform to promote. They're like, hey, let's release the pro shot. And it worked. They're so good with synergy. They released it on July 4th of 2020. Got a lot of eyeballs. So a lot of people who otherwise are not able to see the show were able to see it. So there is an argument in the Broadway community, in the theater community. Should we have pro shots? Are they a good thing? Are they a bad thing? And obviously there's pros and cons to everything. So I want to talk about that relationship, because Hamilton's unique. We have pro shots of other shows, but some of them are so old, like Stephen Sondheim's Into the Woods from the 80s. Yes, they're bringing back Into the Woods to Broadway, and they'll always revive it every so often. So people might have this fear of, well, if we have the pro shot, why would someone go see it in person? If you're even a little bit of a theater person, you know that seeing a show live in person is the best way, right? Theater as an event, way back in BC, blah, 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 by the Greeks, it's invented because it was meant to be a communal experience. People are supposed to come together and have a shared experience where the actors have energy and they transfer to the audience and get them excited, and so they feed off of that, and so they give it back. It's a give and take. Both sides are excited for different reasons, and so they give to each other and they take from each other. And after a good show, everyone should leave it feeling really, really good, right? There's just nothing like live entertainment. If you are a music fan at all, right, and you get your favorite artist's album and they go on tour, do you make it a point to go see them in person? There's just something about seeing them in person, okay? So I want to talk about that because, to get back to my point, Hamilton, we have the pro shot of the current production. And what I mean by that is, after a show closes, they could bring it back, but then it's technically a revival, which means a whole new team can work with it, and they can change the scenery, the costumes, the staging. It's the same script, but they can change how they interpret the script. So right now, you can go to Broadway and see the original, because it never closed. It's on tour, obviously. That's what I'm talking about, which I finally got to see. And you can watch the Pro Shot that's currently available on Disney Plus at the time of recording this video. So I was a little nervous when we went to the show. I was like, I wonder how full the house will be, because how many people are like, oh, I have Disney Plus, I could just watch it at home. Completely sold out theater. I've been to other shows this year that have not been sold out. They've been close, but I'll see like 2 whole rows that are empty somewhere. Going, oh, the show is, it's at least at 85, 90% capacity, but it has not sold out. Hamilton was the night we went. We did go to an evening performance. So I think there's enough people who realize, yes, I can watch the Pro Shot, and there's some advantages, that's the word, to that. But if you can see it in person and you like theater, I do think people make the effort to see it in person. So now I've done both. I did watch the Pro Shot because I was like, oh, I'll never get to see this otherwise. Because that's, you got to think about the consumer side of it. People in Boise, Idaho may never go to New York City. That is really far. New York City is only 4 hours for me, and I can do it, and I've done it, and we're going to do it again. But it's not easy. So we don't want theater to become this, oh, only people with money can do it, right? There is an upside to having Pro Shots available for people who are like, I will not see this otherwise. And I enjoy the medium, so why can't I enjoy it, right? It's better than nothing. So let's talk about the pros and cons, okay? Obviously, let's get the easy stuff out of the way. Why is a Pro Shot a good thing to have? Because people are like, well, the downside is you'll lose money. Do you, though? Again, it was a full house. Now that I've done both, obviously with the Pro Shot, it's just like everything else that we're struggling with. Like, do you go and get your own groceries? Do you go to the movie theater anymore? When you can watch the Pro Shot at home, obviously that means you can be in your pajamas. You can be buck naked if you want. Apparently that's a thing for people. Not me, but you can dress the way you want. There is no dress code for your own house. You're sitting in your own chair or bed, whatever you find comfortable. So you'll definitely be comfortable because you control your seating. The sound obviously is better because it's right there. And you can definitely see everything because they film what they believe, the Pro Shot is dictated, the way it's edited together is dictated by whoever thinks this is the shot we use for this moment, right? And of course, you don't have to deal with people. Oh, yeah. It's getting hard to be out there, isn't it? Just too people-y out, as we say, right? So audience members can be a problem. Those are the upsides. And also, along with what I already said of, if you live in New Mexico or if you live in Kansas, you may never go see a live show. Now, Broadway is not the end-all, be-all. I'm not one of those, if you don't go to Broadway, you haven't seen real theater. Broadway-level productions go on tour. This was a Broadway-level production, obviously. But you can see anything. If you see anything, you go to your local high school, you go to your church group, anything. People do shows all the time, and it's all worthy. As long as people are putting their heart into it and not half-assing it, it's going to be a good time. And you have to go into it with an open mind. It's all fun. So if we want to vote against Pro Shots, what's important about it? Well, obviously, we don't want people to watch the Pro Shot instead of going in person. When you're in the room where it happens, you get that energy. That's like that cathartic, awesome feeling. That's like the most important thing. But the other thing is you can appreciate things. So with Hamilton specifically, I know I'm taking forever to get to the point about talking about just this show. What I like about Hamilton Live versus Hamilton the Pro Shot, because they are identical, it's the only show we can do that with right now. First of all, I'm a lighting person. I went to school for theater to become a lighting designer, so I appreciate lighting. The lighting reads so much better in person. Now, to be fair, every time I've watched the Pro Shot, it's been in my living room with lighting kind of like this, like during the day. So maybe if I watched it in the dark, because then you could kind of simulate being in a theater, maybe I would see the lighting better, but I don't know. I think you have to be in the room. I really do. And the other big thing with Hamilton, the live production, it's not that I don't care about the chorus or the ensemble, whatever you want to call them. But I always thought of them as just, oh, they're there just to make the show feel bigger. It's like, why do we have a chorus? Their choreography is beautiful, original, snappy, fresh, clever, very sharp. They're in unison a lot. And it is part of the storytelling, which is true of all ensembles, but I feel like Hamilton, their choreography is just on a different level with their ensemble. And the downside for me for the pro shot is they want to zoom in on the main character's face during a big chorus number. And I'm like, yeah, but they're just standing there singing. You should zoom the camera back and do a wide shot to take in what the ensemble is doing. So since I can watch the pro shot whenever I want, when we were watching it live, I didn't do it for like the first number, but as the show went on, I was like, you know what? Hamilton's just standing there singing, or Aaron Burr is just standing there singing. I'm going to watch the ensemble while I listened to Aaron Burr on purpose. And they were just so good. They were just like, you know, they were not phoning it in. They didn't do the whole, oh, I'm in the background, no one's really watching me. They are doing what theater artists do best. They pretend the eyes are on them alone. So they are not faking it. Now, maybe there are moments when they can, and maybe there are moments when they do, because 8 shows a week, that gets tiresome. But not the night we went. I thought the ensemble was amazing, and to be able to take in the whole thing, because the problem with the pro shot is the camera's very much like, look over here. And I'm like, but what if I want to look on this side of the stage? But the cut you used is over here, or it's dead center. I'm like, but what about all the stuff that's going on here? You know? So if you want to be in control of what your eyeballs are looking at any particular moment, especially in a show where a lot of things are going on, it's better to be in the room, because you're not at the mercy of someone who edited the thing to do a bunch of mid shots or close-ups. They're not bad, but I didn't appreciate them in the ensemble numbers. You know, when it's just 2 people on stage and it's zoomed in on them, like, right, the stage is quiet besides those 2 people. So that's fine. It's not like you can't do a close-up or you can't do a mid shot. That's totally okay. So for me personally, for Hamilton, I feel like you can't appreciate the lighting, even though the audience is not supposed to notice the lighting. But I'm a lighting person. The lighting is so much better if you're in the room. And the ensemble, their role in how the story is told just has so much more impact. So if you are able to see Hamilton live, you should go. But I think if you clicked on this video, you're already a fan. You're just like, oh, let's see what this other person has to say if it's, you know, different. Sorry, it's not this big enlightening thing. It's a very good show. And I have to tell you, I avoided it for years for 2 reasons. Well, first of all, money. I was like, oh, look, I looked at the prices back when it was new, and I was like, I'll never see this. But I got a little story. So when I was in high school, this little show called Rent came out, and it was the Hamilton of its time in terms of buzz. Everyone was like, oh my God, Rent. Oh my God, have you seen Rent? Oh my God. And I was able to go see that show. It is the only show that I've seen that I'm like, wow, I hate this show. I hate Rent. I'm going to make a whole video about that. At least I can, if there's interest. So when Hamilton came on the scene, and it was 2016 when it really got to, you know, to the more outer areas, we all remember what 2016 was. I couldn't help but think, okay, is this the new Rent? Like, it's flashy, ooh. And it was just so of the moment. So I was worried that it wasn't going to age well. But all I knew was it was revisionist history, and it did some, you know, race bending. And hey, what if we told the story of the Founding Fathers to hip hop and rap? You know, history with modern twist. That's all I knew. I didn't know any specifics. I hadn't heard any of the songs, nothing. Sadly, I did not know anything about the show really until Disney released the Pro Shot. I was like, well, here I go. I already have a subscription. Let me check it out. And I was blown away. And I tried to imagine what it was like to be in the room live. It's a very good Pro Shot. I hope this doesn't sound like I'm dumping on the fact that they have it and it's available and it's ubiquitous for people. I think Pro Shots have a place in our world. There are many people who will never get to see anything. I would rather they have this than not know what live theater is capable of. I do think, and I don't want to dilute Hamilton down to, oh, this is the show for people who don't really like musical theater. That's not true. Hopefully this is just a gateway show. And if people open their minds a little bit and say, well, if I like this, maybe I'll like something else, they'll go and try something else. Fingers crossed. But I am happy to report that it was a full house. And if you do want my exact thoughts on this exact show, we can finally get to that. I know I'm really bearing the lead here. So this is considered the Philip tour. Tours, again, if you don't know, they label them so that you can discern which one is which, especially if they have 2 or 3 running congruently. So this is the Philip tour of 2022. It's the makeup tour. I think this was supposed to go out in 2020, but on the ticket it said, makeup show for summer of 21. So it may not have been a 2020, but maybe, 2021, we were not quite ready to be in a room together. So here are my thoughts on this exact performance. First of all, you get the playbill, and you know how they'll have the little inserts in here saying, oh, at this performance, so-and-so will be playing the part of such and such. Like, it's the entire cast. And I was like, are we getting a completely different cast this evening? I thought it was weird that they list everybody. And I compared it to what was in here, and I was like, oh no, is it all understudies? I mean, I understand that COVID is still a real thing. Even though we're not quite in pandemic mode, it's just part of our life now. So I was like, maybe it took them all out and this is like the B crew. No. I don't know if this is their way of hiding it, but basically this piece of paper is saying, when you compare it to the inside, the permanent cast, everyone was playing the same part except for Hamilton. I'm like, were they just too scared to put tonight the part of Hamilton will be played by so-and-so? So sadly, I did see an understudy. I'm not going to name which one. Well, maybe it doesn't matter. But he has like 6 understudies. I thought he's obviously talented. I don't like being that person who goes, oh, their singing wasn't very good. I can't sing, so who am I to judge? It's just, with the pro shot, I don't think Lin-Manuel Miranda is a very strong performer. He's clearly a talented writer, but when you have the cast around you that he has around you in the pro shot, they're just so strong that he looks weak by comparison to me. Maybe I'm alone there. I was excited to see somebody else play that role because I just wanted to know what that role was like. But we had an understudy at our performance, and I thought he was fine. So I'm like, okay, I think Lin-Manuel Miranda is fine, and this guy is fine. I'm worried. I'm like, maybe the part is not that exciting because there's debate, right? Is this Hamilton's story? Is he what I mean by that is he the protagonist? You could argue that Aaron Burr is the protagonist because he's the one narrating the thing. He opens the show. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't follow the same formula that most, when you look at the book of a musical, it's doing its own thing, which is refreshing. So I have to wonder, maybe the part is just okay. Maybe it's not the actor's fault. Maybe it's like, oh yeah, but they only did this with it. But we have to make Jefferson and Burr and all these other people look really, really cool. So I don't know. Maybe there just isn't room. I don't know. But so we did have an understudy that night, but it's not that he was bad. I was disappointed. A little part was like, and I didn't look at this right away. The theater I was in, the seats are really small and squished together. So you felt like you had no room. So I slipped that into a bag to keep it safe. And I was like, yeah, I'll look at that later because there's nothing I need to read right now. Didn't even occur to me to look for the little inserts because I don't always have inserts. So, but after the performance, we get back to the car and we're going home and I'm looking and I was like, oh, we saw the understudy. Oh, okay. But I'll tell you what I'm really happy about. So I try not to watch the pro shot a lot. I was like, don't watch it too many times because if you ever see this live, you'll be so married to the pro shot that what if you don't like the live show because you'll be so familiar that you're like, oh, that's not how you're supposed to do that, right? I am happy to report that did not happen. An example is I love Jonathan Groff's version of King George III in the pro shot. And I was so scared. I was like, oh, I'm going to hate the king because he's not Jonathan Groff. And I'm like, don't think about him. Don't think about him. The gentleman who played the king in this tour, let's see. King George, where are you? Neil Haskell. Oh, he was so funny. He didn't copy Jonathan. I'm not accustomed to seeing the same production over and over again, except for Phantom. So I don't know what it's like to watch a show and then wait a few weeks and then go see it again, or watch a show and then see another tour doing the same production and then just see their take on it from a performance level. They found a way to do all these cutesy little jokes and make them their own and not be all like, hey, remember this from the Pro Shot? Remember how Leslie Odom Jr. did this? You know, all their jokes were theirs, and they did their own version of things. Line delivery, little hand gestures during certain moments. All that stuff was really, really good. So I'm happy to report that I didn't see a copy of the Pro Shot. Now, I wonder how they feel about that. So actors who are ever playing Hamilton until it closes and, you know, before they revive it, I wonder, do they fear about being compared to the Pro Shot, to the original cast? For most shows, all we have is the cast recording. So you can hear a version of a character that you like. Like, okay, let's say you never saw Idina Menzel play Elphaba in Wicked, but you have the cast recording. And you've seen Wicked, but you've seen other people play Elphaba. Well, you don't have anything visual to go by if you didn't get to see Idina Menzel. So you're not judging them in the same way. I wonder if there's more pressure on these exact groups while this exact production is available to watch live. So that was just something on my mind. Maybe it's not important. Maybe not everyone's thinking about that. But I thought they did a very good job. Very, very good job. What else is important about this exact? Talk with the lighting. I mean, it was so good. The energy was so, so good. Now, what I didn't like about our experience had nothing to do with the show itself. I'm a little too aware of the audience around me. So if they do any little thing, I'm like, ugh. Now, sadly, I don't normally do this, but the tickets I was able to afford was the very end of a row. And we were right by, there was 8 doors, you know, because how a theater goes up. There's 8 doors to pick from so that each section can funnel out a little faster. So I was by a door. Not good. So people who couldn't wait, you know, it's a long show. People who couldn't wait until intermission to go to the bathroom, I kept seeing people walk by me because I was in the second row of the balcony and there was an alley in front of the front row. So every so often you see, they're not trying to be disruptive, but I'm like, wow, I can't believe you're paying all this money. And I mean, if you got to go, you got to go. But I made it to intermission. I go before the show starts too. Just a little tip: go right before the show starts. They tell you the runtime. Judge accordingly, people. But also the ushers were just hanging around the door, and they kept going up the stairs and down the stairs, and up the stairs, like, and they're wearing white long sleeve shirts. You know how they look like little like waiters or something. So because they're wearing white shirts, any bit of light from the stage is going to light them up. So all that movement was very distracting. I'm like, I actually started watching the show like this, so that I didn't see all this action right here at the door. I meant to say something after the fact, like, but you know, it's the end of the show and they just want you to leave. So I might just go to the theater's website and go, hey, something to think about. I don't know why the ushers are just walking around, because the audience, other than people who are trying to get up to go to the bathroom, the audience doesn't really move. I've never been at a performance where, oh, if the ushers aren't here to keep the crowd under control, they're going to go rowdy and weird. People, by and large, are sitting and just watching the show, laughing at jokes and clapping at the end of songs like you're supposed to do. But that was really annoying. And the couple, I can't believe it was in the second row. First row, baby. That's where I got to be. There was a couple in front of us, and the wife the whole time, now, let me paint a picture. I want to say they were in their mid-50s. That's how they looked. Older white couple, and drinks are allowed in this theater. Like, it has to be provided by the theater. And they both had like a Bud Light. I can't believe people were drinking a Bud Light at Hamilton. I just think that's weird. It felt like I was at a baseball game. So they're having their Bud Light, and because it's like rap music, they're all, there's nothing wrong with getting into the music, but I'm like, you're going to do this. I mean, it's a 3-hour show. That's a lot of show to be like, oh yeah. And spoiler alert, if you don't know the story of Hamilton, but the scene where Philip dies, the woman was all, I mean, she was struck. I don't know. Maybe she's lost a child so she could relate, or maybe she's just that sensitive, or maybe she was that drunk. I don't know. But I was like, God, these people. Like, so I'm watching this and I'm trying not to watch the person in front of the couple in front of me. Plus, I had to, the stage was like this way. So I'm like watching it like this. Not ideal. But all the things that were going on stage, you know, had nothing to do with it's not their fault I was sitting where I was sitting. Not the show's fault. It taught me, I'm like, okay, I get tunnel vision and go, I have to buy the seats that I can afford. Maybe I should have spent $20 more to be in a little bit or to be forward a little bit, just because I probably would have had a different audience experience, more than likely. So always buy tickets where you can see the theater so you can go, I want this seat. Really think about what it would be like to sit there. Now, you're not always going to know. The more you go, the more you start to go, oh, don't sit by the door. I mean, it depends. What was good about being by the door is we were the first ones out. We've never gotten out of a parking garage so fast. So that was a plus. I just don't know if it was worth it considering the 3 hours I had to sit through first in order to have that little perk at the end. So obviously you have to weigh what's the most important. But honestly, everything I didn't like that night was not about Hamilton. It was, oh, this chair is not comfortable, and oh, the ushers are going, meow, meow, meow. So I'm sitting there going, okay, I don't want to promote the pro shot, but this is the upside. I don't have a drunk lady in front of me all like, oh yeah. But she was having fun. And that's all that matters. As long as everyone's getting their money's worth. And the point of this, my daughter really wanted to see the show. This is her birthday present. She had a blast. So her having fun made me have fun. So these are trifles, you know, like I was so in the moment, but you know, then the moment's over and you're like, okay, I'm fine now. Excellent show. It's so well done. Very sharp, very clever. Unlike Rent. Sorry if you're a Rent head, by the way. I do think Hamilton completely earns all the hype that has surrounded it since it came onto the scene. It's a very well written show. Very well acted. It's a good piece of theater. So if you're not a theater person, I do agree that this is probably a good show for you to, you know, let it be your litmus test. If you don't like sitting through this, that's really sad. But not all theaters like this. This is the beauty of theater. Theater is just so different. No two shows are the same, even amongst themselves. Like you might be able to group like, oh, these are the fluffier kind of ones, and these are like the dark, edgy ones, and these are like the, oh, we have something important to say ones. They're all so different. Please try stuff. Okay, whatever you can afford, whatever comes around you, just give it a shot. Don't throw away your shot. Let Hamilton teach you that. So anyway, those are my thoughts. I wanted to do this specifically for Hamilton because of its unique situation, being the only show that you can watch the pro shot and watch the exact same production, either on Broadway or on tour. I don't know if it's playing anywhere else in the world right now, but similar. Do your own pro shot versus live experience and then compare the two because that's what's fun. But yeah, those are my thoughts and I hope this was fun. Thank you for clicking here and I'll see you when I do another show. Bye.